When they first announced River Song was coming back for Christmas, I remember being taken aback by just how mixed the reaction from the fandom was. But I suppose the Series 6 story arc and the several appearances she had after that resulted in her becoming more divisive as a character. I guess you can have too much of a good thing after all, if you consider River Song a good thing. I mean, back in earlier stories, Moffat presented us with this intriguing, mysterious woman, back when that was a new thing, who had knowledge about the Doctor's future, but was still an interesting character in her own right. Since then, she has become insufferably infatuated with the Doctor, and I couldn't really imagine her holding her own back when Big Finish first announced that they were going to be doing a series called The Diary of River Song. So in my review of the first series of The Diary of River Song, I'm going to be asking these 3 questions. 1. Does she? 2. Is it any good? And 3. As always, have there been any similar murders? Reference. Okay, I'm going to stop holding back here and admit my true feelings towards this set. I absolutely adore The Diary of River Song, and since its digital release on Boxing Day, I've enjoyed multiple listenings of it. Don't look at me like that. No one's more surprised than I am. The opening story of the set is titled The Boundless Sea, and sees River exploring a mysterious Egyptian tomb in the 20th century. River's definitely at her best here. Without the Doctor to fawn over, she's become liberated, less infatuated, and colder towards those around her, which I welcome with open arms after several years of tedious flirting. Alex Kingston proves herself a great voice actor too. When moving from television to audio, it can be a bit jarring. I mean, look how Matt Smith seems to mutter rather than belt out his lines when they released those online adventure games in 2010, to see what I mean. Kingston, on the other hand, takes all of that energy with her, and her performance makes it much easier to visualise. I wouldn't say this was the best story of the series, but it's a wonderful character piece that provokes some fascinating imagery. Which brings me on to talking about the second story of this series, titled I Went to a Marvellous Party. That's a bit of a mouthful. The story sees River following a mysterious summons where she finds herself at a seemingly endless party in space. As I said with the first story, this does a great job of creating fascinating imagery and is probably the best story of the series at doing so. The standalone whodunit element of the story left me feeling a little unsatisfied, but this is a great one for world building, establishing characters, locations and concepts. The third story of the set is titled Signs, and rather than fighting scary CGI aliens with half-finished glasses of water, River and her husband are on the hunt for spore ships. I'd say this is probably my favourite of the set, but I don't feel like I can give too much away. It's got an intriguing mystery with a satisfying payoff, and it gets even better on second listenings when you know what's going on. Fans of Heaven Sent and Sherlock will enjoy elements of this story too, for reasons which will probably become clear once you get into it. At this point, I'd like to make a note of how wonderful Howard Carter's musical score is, not just for this episode, but for the series as a whole. It's not too intrusive, it's not overplayed, and, coupled alongside some terrific sound design, puts you right in the moment. This is the episode where it becomes clear what the series is heading towards, setting the scene for the finale, which is titled The Rulers of the Universe. This final story of the series features everyone's beloved Paul McGann, i.e. the 8th Doctor. One of my nitpicks of his addition here is that he inevitably steals the limelight, taking attention away from River, and plays a greater hand in the climax of the story than she does. It would have been much nicer to have him as a side character, but unfortunately River almost seems to fall into the role of an assistant rather than a lead character, or even a mutual associate. Some of the things I do very much enjoy about this story are the mentions of the Time War, which is still in its early days at this point and something we're on the outskirts of. We're at a point in the Doctor's life where he's donned that Night of the Doctor costume and is refusing to take part. I know this sounds hypocritical of me after suggesting in my War Doctor review that we shouldn't reveal much of the Time War at all, but I really think it works here. The war isn't at its peak, and it takes me back to Christopher Eccleston's series where we're feeling the consequences of this enormous event rather than experiencing the war itself. I have a couple of nitpicks, but all in all I'd say that The Diary of River Song is a triumph in storytelling, acting, writing, particularly sound design actually, and it comes together really well to create a great sense of adventure. I can picture this as a fun and slightly camp 90s science fiction fantasy show, and elements of it kind of remind me of Buffy and Indiana Jones. Bizarre combination, I know. You can get the set on the Big Finish website where you can download it or buy the physical copy. I strongly recommend listening to it. This is without a doubt one of the best things that Big Finish have brought out in the last couple of years. Stay tuned because over the next few months I'm going to be reviewing the War Doctor's second volume Infernal Devices, Doom Coalition 2 and the first set of 10th Doctor adventures. So yeah, I don't hate River. Take that.
Have you recently regenerated and your sonic screwdriver is just not as cool as your new incarnation? Do you ever look at your screwdriver and think, ooh, This could be a little more sonic.